Hello students, today I am going to teach you the easiest way to write task 1 in academic. As we know that there is a graph, chart, process, map or diagram in task 1 for which you have 20 minutes and you need to write minimum 150 words. If you see that you have a graph which is line, bar, table or pie, there are simply two ways to explain these four types of graphs. Like you can use simple formulas to explain the four types of graphs. If you found that there is comparison in the names like countries, if anything is represented in terms of countries or nations like India, China, if there is gender comparison like male, female, comparison of two activities like swimming, dancing, or two schools, subjects, you can simply mark this as a comparison chart or a graph, and there is need to use the words less, more. For this graph, there are three main formulas to make sentences. The formulas are very simple, which we use to make simple sentences, active sentences, and passive sentences. The hints for the graph which you can use to explain, try to find the words if you can use major, popular, common or favorite. Like if there is comparison of expenditure, you can say that major amount of money was spent on this and that. If there are 3 or 4 countries which are visited by the visitors, you can say that the most popular destination was. If there are some diseases, you can say that the most common disease was. So if you find that there are some nations, you can start with leading nation followed by ranked third, or stood at least position. But when you see that there is a graph in which you have comparison of time, like you see that the time is increasing from 1990 to 1991, 1900 to 2000, January to February, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Then you can mark variable. And in this graph, the words which are used are increase, decrease. To write this graph, the two main formulas are noun or pronoun, verb, adverb. There, helping verb, article, adjective, noun, or the term which is increasing or decreasing. So this is the way you can explain your graph. If there is comparison, you have to use the words like less or more. There are three main formulas the formula which we use to make simple sentences, active sentences and passive sentences. And if the time is increasing, the words which we use are increase, decrease. The formulas are term which is increasing, verb, adverb, or the simple formula of making a sentence which is started with there. So to start a graph, first of all you will have to find three main keys in the graph. Like what will be the tense in which you will write the graph. You can decide it from the year. If the time is before 2019, the tense will be used past. If the year is present and the average is given, the tense will be present, and if there is any prediction about the future years, then the tense will be used future. But if there is no time given, you will have to decide the tense from the verb. If the verb is present, the graph will be written in present tense. If the verb is future, the graph will be written in future tense. But if the verb is past, underline the word which is given before the verb. Like if the tense is active and the verb is past, the tense will be past. Like if you find that people spent money, the tense will be past. But if the sentence is passive and you find that verb is past, but the word which you underlined before the word is object, it will be average and the tense will be present. The another key which you have to find out in the graph is the use of words. As I have told you that if there is increasing time, the words will be increase, decrease, and if there is comparison between the names, the words used will be less, more. The another important key is the term, which is compared in the graph with the help of words like less, more or increase, decrease. The 5 main terms which are compared in the graph are percentage of visitors, percentage of students, number of people, number of books, amount of money, production of sugar, consumption of tea. These are the 5 main terms which are compared in the graphs. But if you cannot find the term from these 5, then try to find that if there is comparison of size, profit, loss, sale, weight, imports, exports, or emission of gases. So let's take an example of comparing the graph. For example, if you have noticed a bar chart in the IELTS exam, first of all you need to find that the years are 1990, 1995 and 2000. So the first key will be the graph will be written in past tense. There is comparison of names, so the words used will be less, more. But we have also noticed the increase in time. So it is a combination graph in which we will use both increase, decrease as well as less, more words. And the term in this graph is, let's say it's a percentage of smokers. So the term that is N, it is percentage of smokers. So let's start the graph. Firstly, we will make introduction. In introduction, it is always advised to write what is compared in the graph, where and when. So for this, the introduction will be the Vertical bar chart compares the percentage of smokers in India, China, and France from 1990 to 2000. So we have noticed N, the percentage of smokers, where in India, China, and France, when from 1990 to 2000. So the next we are moving to the body paragraphs. Do not write memorized sentences. Just start with as can be observed. Write the expression of time. The graph has starting year 1990. So we will write in 1990. In 1990, when we are making a comparison and we need to use the words like popular, common, favorite, major, as there is comparison in countries, so we will start with the leading nation, and the formula which we are going to use is a simple sentence that is followed with active sentence and or passive sentence. So we are going to start that in this graph the country which is leading is China. So we are going to write China was the leading nation with maximum percentage of smokers. There are different ways to write this sentence, as you can say that smoking was a popular activity in China, but people in other two countries were not more interested in smoking. Or the simplest way, China was the leading nation with maximum percentage of smokers. As the percentage in this graph is 30, so you can write the active sentence 30% people in China used to smoke, or you can give simple expression of 30%, just under 1/3 of the total population in China. So we are going to make active sentence just under 1/3 of the total percentage, 1/3 of the total population in China used to smoke. The next hint was followed by China. As we can see that the two countries, India and France, are following China with equal percentage of smokers. So the next sentence we are going to make is, it's a passive sentence. China was followed by India and France with 10% less smokers. So we have made comparison by writing the words less more, and the formulas we have used here are simple sentence in which we have written China was the leading nation with maximum percentage of smokers. just under 1/3 of the total population used to smoke. After that we made a passive sentence. China was followed by India and France with 10% less smokers. In the graph, now we are going to make the comparisons across the increasing time. Now we have noticed that the time is increasing, so the formulas will change. So when the time is increasing from 1990 to 1995, we will write the expression of time after 5 years. The N in this graph is percentage of smokers. So we will write percentage of smokers in China and India look at the formula. The percentage of smokers in China and India. The percentage of smokers in China and India. As you notice that there is increase, so you will write the verb in past, that is increased. The percentage of smokers in China and India increased. Now adverb significantly. If you want to mention the figures, then you can say that the percentage of smokers in China and India increased significantly to, in India it has increased to 40% and in India it has increased to 45%, and write down respectively. And if you want to separate these two sentences, you can say that after 5 years, percentage of smokers in China increased significantly to 40%. Likewise, the percentage of smokers in India increased by 15% and reached at 45%. However, in France, the proportion of smokers remained same. So you can mark the verbs. We have used past verbs as the comparison was of 1990 and 1995. As the time passed further, or you can say after another 5 years, as the time passed further, now we are going to use the another formula which is started with there. So we are going to write there was a noticeable rise. There was a noticeable rise in the percentage of smokers in France, which reached at 48%. But in other two countries, the trend reversed and the population of smokers fell down to 25%. So now I'm going to explain you the two formulas. Percentage of smokers in India or China increased significantly. When you are going to mention that it increased from 40 to 50%, you can write the percentage of smokers in China increased significantly to 50% by 10% or reached at 50%. And when you are making this formula, there was a significant increase in the percentage of smokers in China which reached at or which increased to 50%. So I hope that you have understood the formulas which will help you to write down your graph in an easier way, and after that we'll end with the overall. In this graph, the overall will be very simple, as the habit of smoking in India and China increased, but again the smoking was controlled. Or you can say that with passage of time, smoking became a popular activity in France.